Hello everyone and welcome to this beginner yoga series. My name's Claudia from Yoga for Everybody, and over the next few weeks I will be taking you on a bit of a beginner yoga journey. So I've designed this series specifically for beginner level students to gently introduce you to a yoga practice. So what we'll be doing is taking a handful of postures each week and then breaking them down and looking at the correct alignment and the breathing in each posture so that you can practice safely and also modify the posture so it's suitable to your own body needs. So even though this is a beginner yoga series, the advanced practitioners are also more than welcome to join, as you can use this as a bit of a reminder of the postures that you perhaps take for granted every day in your practice. Each week we will build on the foundations that we covered the week before, so hopefully with every week you will grow stronger and stronger and more confident in your practice. As always, please let me know what you think of the classes in comments, share and like the video, maybe connect with me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. If you've got any specific questions about any of the postures or anything else yoga related, please feel free to give me a shout. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the series. Let's begin. We're going to begin the practice in a kneeling position. So come onto your mat. Bend your knees, release your toes and sit back onto your heels. Have your hands on your knees, just relax your shoulders, close your eyes for a moment, and we're just going to take a few deep breaths to begin with. So take a deep inhale in through the nose, and then a slow, complete exhale through the nose. And we're just trying to focus our attention on the present moment. Take another deep inhale in. Notice how you're feeling in your body today. And exhale. One more time, inhale in. And exhale. And then bring your hands in prayer in front of your chest. You can open your eyes and maybe set an intention for today's practice. Could be anything. From here, on an inhale, lift your arms up and stretch through your fingertips. Maybe follow up with your gaze. Join your palms together, and on an exhale, bring your hands back down through heart center. One more time, inhale. Lift your arms up and stretch. Exhale, join the palms together and bring them back down through heart center. One more time, inhale, lift your arms up, stretch. Exhale, palms together and bring them back down through heart center. Brilliant. Place your right fingertips on the mat. Inhale, lift your left arm up. And on an exhale, just take a gentle side bend to the right. We're just warming up the spine. Inhale, come back to center. Drop your left fingertips down on the mat on an exhale, and then switch sides. Inhale, lift your right arm up. And exhale, just a gentle side bend to the left. On an inhale, come back to center and release your fingertips down onto the mat. Continue sitting on your heels. Or if you want to stretch your toes a little bit, see if you can tuck your toes and sit back onto your heels while we're warming up the wrists. So on an inhale, lift your arms forwards in front of you, palms facing down. Exhale, just turn your palms to face the sky. Inhale, turn them back down. Exhale, face them up. Inhale, back down. And exhale, face them back up, just warming up the wrists. And then inhale, open up your arms out to the sides and continue with the same movement. So exhale, palms up. Inhale, back down. Exhale, palms up. And inhale, back down. And then release your hands, your arms by your sides. Release the toes, and then see if you can open your feet out to the sides and fit your sit bones in between your feet. So you should start feeling a good stretch in your thighs here. Have your hands to the mat. Take an inhale here, spine's nice and neutral. And exhale. Brilliant. From here, we're going to sit in a child's pose. So the first pose that I want to demonstrate to you is the child's pose. And the reason I'm doing this posture first is because it's a great pose to go back to if at any point you need a rest during your practice. So there's a few ways you can take a child's pose. I will show you all of them, and then you can decide which way works for you. So the first option is to come into a kneeling position, sit back onto your heels so your big toes are touching. And if you're quite flexible in your spine already, you can lower your chest over your thighs, drop your forehead down onto the floor, arms by your sides, palms facing up. So this is your first variation of the child's pose. If this does not feel comfortable, if you can't quite reach the floor with your forehead or your hips are starting to lift, you can open your knees out to the sides to help your chest fit through and lower your chest and your forehead down this way. Arms by your sides, palms facing up. If you're still finding this uncomfortable, you can also stack your fists one on top of the other and lower your forehead down onto your fists. If you've got any props, so a blanket or a couple of blocks, if your hips are lifting, you can pop a blanket in between your sit bones and your heels. And you can also pop a block in front of you. So instead of stacking your fists, you can have a block here to rest your forehead down onto the mat. So whichever variation works for you, let's come into a child's pose. Just take a breath in here and exhale. And then on an inhale, let's take another variation of the child's pose. So stretch your arms forwards, and you should start feeling a much deeper stretch in the back, the lower back and the hips, as well as some opening in between your shoulder blades here. And exhale. On an inhale, walk your fingertips back towards your body. And from here, we're going to come into a tabletop position or a modified plank position. So come onto your hands and your knees. Spread your fingers wide open and make sure you're pressing into each knuckle of your hand. So your shoulders are going to be directly over your wrists and your hips are going to be over your knees. You're about hip width apart with your knees and shoulder width apart with your hands. And then from here, just turn your hands out just ever so slightly. This will help with the external rotation of the shoulders. So this is kind of the position that we want in a tabletop position or a modified plank. Engage your core muscles. So tuck your belly in. So your belly button's pulling towards your spine. Your back's nice and long. You're lengthening your tailbone towards the back of the room. So you're not sagging, you're not rounding. Your back is nice and neutral. Let's hold here for another breath. And exhale. If you wanted from here to try a full plank position, you can stretch your left leg back and your right leg back and come into a full plank. So the same principle, only here you're pressing back with your heels, your back's still nice and long, your shoulders are still over your wrists. That's really important, this alignment, in order to avoid injury. So whichever variation of plank you're at, let's take another inhale. And then drop your knees back down onto the mat. Bring your big toes to touch and sit back in whichever variation of child's pose that you prefer. One deep breath in. And then come back into the tabletop position. So just get your alignment correct. From here, we're going to start warming up the spine with a few cycles of cat-cow. So on an inhale, you're going to lift your chest forwards and look forwards. This is called a cow position. So you're dropping your belly down, but not too much that you're sagging. You're more focusing on lifting your chest up and looking forwards. On an exhale, you're going to round the back and look down, bringing your chin towards your chest. So a great stretch for the shoulders. You should feel it in between your shoulder blades. Let's do this one more time. Inhale, arch the spine, lift your chest forwards and look forwards. Notice that my shoulders are still over the wrists, hips are over the knees. Exhale, round the back and look down. And here you can move your hips back a little bit if you wanted to for a moment to feel the stretch even more in your back. One more time. Inhale, arch the spine, look forwards. And exhale, round the back and look down. On an inhale, come into a neutral position and let's just sit back on our heels and maybe give your wrists a bit of a shake. If you're not used to being on your hands and knees and doing planks, it could be quite strenuous on your wrists, so just be mindful of that. When you're ready, let's come back into our tabletop position. So hands are pointing out just ever so slightly to open to help with the external rotation. And we will do our first downward facing dog from here. So let's tuck the toes, your hip width apart with your feet and shoulder width apart with your hands. Take an inhale, and on an exhale you're going to start lifting your hips, your tailbone up towards the sky, straightening the arms. Keep your knees nice and bent to start with, so you're pressing through your hands into your back, lifting your tailbone up. So again, notice that my chest is not sagging, I'm not rounding, the back is nice and long. And this is your first kind of variation of downward facing dog. So if your hamstrings are tight, there's absolutely nothing wrong with keeping the bend in the knees to start with. What you can do from here is start dropping one heel down onto the floor, followed by the other. So alternating, pedaling your feet down, exploring how that feels in the back of your legs. Of course, if you're a bit more flexible, if your hamstrings are quite open already, you're more than welcome to drop both heels down onto the mat. But if that kind of compromises the nice straight line of your back, then it's better to keep a bend in the knees. One more deep breath in, you're gazing back towards the back of the room in between your legs. And then on an exhale, drop your knees back down, bring your big toes to touch, and let's sit back in a child's pose. Take a breath in. And then on an exhale, walk your fingertips back to your body, come into a kneeling position. So we will turn all these postures that we've just learned into a bit of a flow. So on an inhale, lift your arms up and look forwards. Exhale, you're going to bring your arms forwards and fold forwards into a child's pose. Inhale, come into a tabletop position or a modified plank. Get your alignment correct on an exhale. Hold. Inhale, arch the spine, look forwards, lift your chest forwards. Exhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral position. Exhale, tuck your toes under, lift up into a downward facing dog. One deep breath in down dog. Exhale, lower knees back down onto the mat. Bring your big toes to touch and sit back in child's pose. One more deep breath in child's pose. And exhale, come back into a kneeling position. Let's do this one more time. So inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forwards into a child's pose. Inhale, come into a tabletop position. And exhale, hold your plank or tabletop position. Inhale, arch the spine, look forwards, lifting your chest forwards. Exhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral spine. Exhale, tuck the toes and lift your hips up into a downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale here. On an exhale, drop your knees back down onto the mat. Bring your big toes to touch and sit back onto your heels in child's pose. Take a breath in here. And exhale, bring your hands back towards your body into a kneeling posture. So this was your first yoga flow. Let me know how you found it. From here, we're just going to sit back onto our bottom, stretch the legs out in front of you, and then lie down on the floor in a quick Savasana. So just have your legs straight, let your feet fall out, have your arms by your sides, palms facing up, close your eyes, return to the natural rhythm of your breath, and just relax in this Savasana pose for a few moments. When you're ready, you can roll onto your side and come back into the kneeling position. So sitting back on your heels, just have your hands back onto your knees, relax your shoulders, or you can have your hands in prayer in front of your chest. Thank you so much for joining me for our first class in this beginner yoga series today. Do let me know what you thought of the class in comments, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.